I really appreciate what you've said. At the face of it, it looks like a peaceful game. Two people sitting on a chair. I was watching this documentary on Garry Kasparov, the former Russian champion, and the emotional turmoil that he went through because of being a grandmaster.
I remember when we met for the first time, and then for the second meeting, he told me to prepare a colory piece.
Oh.
And he gave me an option to choose between an elephant, a horse, or a camel, and prepare a piece, 2-minute piece to it. So I did, and with the few basics that I was introduced to at Adishakti, because we had 6 a.m. classes of Adishakti for about an hour or two.
I do feel the play requires a big space, but at the same time, when we're rehearsing in a small space, you see the actor right in front of you when you're close to the board. There's absolutely a new feeling that emerges, and I think I personally miss that, because with the microphone and with this, there's something about smaller places that attracts me a lot.
All right. The INT, Aditya Birla Center for Performing Arts, brings to you a really special play. It's called The Stalemate. The critics are raving about it, and the people who've gone and seen it already say it's an absolute must-watch. I'm very pleased to welcome into studio the principal cast as well as the writer-director. It's written and directed by Nikhil Katara. Hi, Nikhil. Wonderful to see you. First time on the show.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Lovely to have you. Yeah. And Tushar Pandey returns. What's up, my brother? How are you?
I'm very good, very excited to be here.
Lovely. Hi, Sumona. It's been a while.
Yes, it has been.
Lovely. Great to see you. And the new kid on the block who's not new anymore because people have raved about his OTT performance, and I can't wait to see him on stage. Kesav Binoy Kiron. How are you, brother?
I've been very well. Hope you're good.
Very well. So, Nikhil, given your expertise in all things psychological, I'd like you to start, because it's pitched as a psychological thriller, and knowing the kind of work that you've done, there are obviously lots of layers to it. So start at the premise and what you really hope to achieve with this play.
The story is about a chess prodigy who turns into grandmaster. But its genesis comes from a particular incident which I read in The Observer in around 2012. And the premise was about a boy who randomly played a grandmaster, beat him, and after that lost to many amateurs. And one day he went missing.
Wow.
And his family they didn't put a missing persons complaint. And this was the genesis of a question that what happens to genius? Because chess is all about rationality. And that's the genesis of this play. And what we try to achieve is to understand what is genius a curse? Is being extremely intelligent and rational bringing down your emotional side? What happens to a genius when he is in emotional conflict? And that is the premise of The Stalemate. And the sole characters, primarily, it's the story of Tushar's character, Karthik, and Sumona's character, which is Renu.
And they're siblings.
They're siblings. And what they undergo because of a fractured past.
So, writing something like this requires, I imagine, time, simply because you have to get the complexities of chess right. You have to get your dialogues right. But I also believe there's a fair amount of Kalari poetry and Kathak.
Yes.
So, was this like a year in the making? Just
No,
asking.
this has been in the making for 13 to 14 years.
What
now.
are you saying?
The number of drafts.
I mean, you were working on the other stuff, but
Yeah.
this was just happening on the side.
Yeah. Means in the sense, every year there was a discovery in this play, because essentially earlier I had written this in the form of a story, but one random line in the middle said that all the knights, bishops and queens and the kings are on the board. And I shared this with my mentor, Ramu Ramanathan, and he said, how are you going to achieve this?
Good man, good man.
Yeah. And that's where the entire genesis came, that I would like to see the blacks and whites, and they entail some sort of physical form on the stage, because chess by definition is so physical. If you just see the violence on the board that happens and the harakiri that is being caused, we see these two entities And to have two different forms, which essentially are hundreds and hundreds of years old, to see them face off each other was very exciting.
I really appreciate what you've said. You know, at the face of it, it looks like a peaceful game. Two people sitting on a chair. I was watching this documentary on Garry Kasparov, the former Russian champion, and the emotional turmoil that he went through because of being a grandmaster. It actually is a pretty violent sport, man.
Exactly.
You know, wonderful. Wonderful that, you know, you would bring this to light again.
Thank you.
Okay, Tushar, you train other people, you're trained yourself. You have such an extensive background in the theatre. It must be very fulfilling for you to not just use your craft, which is acting, but also have this incredible moving stage. We haven't talked about the moving stages yet, so, you know, there's no rule that says only the director should talk about that. So why don't you introduce the concept of a moving stage and then go on to, you know, the challenges that you faced as a performing artist?
I mean, Nikhil envisioned the whole play on a chessboard. And I think the way he started designing and planning, he wanted the whole board to open all the faces. So he kind of designed it on a rotating stage. And it is a 30-degree incline. So that every square of the chessboard is accessible to every audience in whichever theatre we perform. That is his aspect from cinematography. But when it comes to acting, there are a lot of spaces where one needs to be very aware of what square you're standing, what angle you're standing, both in terms of purely finding the right dynamic between the characters in the scene, but also to be able to opening yourself to the audience. So for me, it was great because suddenly I was able to work on 2 or 3 different facets together, because a lot of times in a lot of conventional play, you end up blocking a play in a very, you know, very stereotypical way. But here the idea was always the piece is moving, the chess is moving, the characters are moving. When they're not even taking step by themselves, the board is moving. So there are a lot of things happening. Personally, the psychological journey happening both within the character and on the space definitely adds to that flavor.
Check local listings, but just to feed you them, it's a 120-minute performance at the Tata Theatre, 29th, which is a Saturday. 7:30 p.m. is when the Stalemate starts. These actors take the stage. Tickets are live now at Book My Show. It's an INT-AB CPA production, the Stalemate. Sumona, you're probably sick by now. People telling you you're a bubbly actor and bubbly personality. I mean, plays like this must be manna from heaven for you, because, you know, you get to show your craft other than all the stuff that you've done in television. And you must gravitate towards parts like this. Talk to me about that first.
It's bubbly personality. I haven't heard that in a while. But yes, it's very strange. This is my 3rd English play. And like a very dear friend of mine tells me that it's very ironical that theatre directors approach me with very sad and dark and a little, like, you know, mentally damaged kind of roles versus what I do on camera or have been doing for the longest time. So yes, as an actor, it's extremely fulfilling because it's literally 2 ends of the spectrum that I end up portraying as an actor. As hard and as challenging as any medium is, this play, Nikhil, has really pushed us to a point where you're like, okay. It's hard. Like everything what Tushar said, that, like, you know, the rotating board and everything that we do conventionally in theatre, we have literally challenged all of that. So as an actor, I mean, of course, going from Kapil Ki Biwi to playing Renu and yeah, like I think after our opening night, most of the people who met me, they were like, you know we read the name Sumona, but to actually see you play the role, we were like, oh my God, like it was like something pata nahi kuch alag hi.
Don't you love that? Don't you love that?
Oh yes, absolutely. I think it's wonderful to shock people in a lovely way.
Keshav was on air for a wonderful film that won at Sundance called Girls Will Be Girls. I wonder if you guys heard that interview. If you haven't, then I'd first suggest just go and watch the film. It's still streaming on Amazon Prime Video, and he's just done such a splendid job in it. And are you Inspector Shashank in this?
No,
What are you playing?
The name of my character is Eklavya, and just like the name, which is smartly played with, he's a student. He's a learner. His father is a grandmaster, the White King. But he thinks just learning his father's method, father's style is not enough to be the best. So he ends up becoming a student of the Black King, which is Karthik. And he wants to learn the aggressive style as well. How I see it is he goes to a Dhoni and he goes to a Kohli. And he learns the best from both.
That is very, very interesting. Are those words or your words or Nikhil's words?
My words.
Well done. You know, Nikhil, in all honesty, one is this whole psychological thriller aspect. The other is, obviously, this is a very deep play about abuse of children. I don't want to get into the details of it because that would be a spoiler. I don't think enough plays are done on the subject. So I'd like your comment on that.
The entire idea, and I have read many plays which talk about abuse, but whenever I go to the theatre, ironically, I've not seen enough. Maybe people are scared to go down that dark route, but essentially our play begins with that premise, and there's something in the past which is lingering. And I think the direct abuse of these children is only visible from their past. So what we view it is from the images that have created these individuals. I think plays about certain things which are deeply dark do remove a certain kind of catharsis in us. And that's very, very important because that's where we can really engage with our own emotions and understand our own past trauma. And that's where these plays reveal something which is unique, our own entities, our own identities. And this play, I actually read up a lot about other people who have undergone something. There is Benjamin Labatut's The Maniac, a fantastic book on this. Essentially, it looks at various extremely talented, extremely intelligent people who came up with AI and all of that. How their personal lives were also governed by a certain kind of past abuse or something which was wrong about their past that brings them to think in the way they think. So this is what I have to say about
This is a very interesting perspective, and I want the actor's perspective on it. Nikhil has just said, Tushar, that he wanted the performing arts or performances to be cathartic. And he believes that that's what acting is. It helps you come face to face with deep trauma. Whereas if you ask a whole bunch of actors, they'll just turn around and say, it's about reacting, I'll react, and that's the end of it. Where do you stand on it?
Well, you see, one of the key things that I appreciate about theatre is rehearsals that you don't get to be part of when you do films a lot of times. And I think that process is where you tend to come face to face with a lot of approaches. One other thing I find great about this play is it gives you enough impetus to explore different material. Simply, I'll give an example. There are 4 chess matches in the play, and they are actually based on grandmasters matches in the past.
Wow.
So there's already, you have a reference that you can see what propelled this player to make a move. And that already becomes an impulse for you to start finding your own connection with that material. So Catharsis, there are 2 ways one is approaching. One is what the character's journey is, and you find truth in that journey in relation to what the other characters are going through or what you are doing to the other characters. But as an actor yourself, you also need to find references for yourself. So for my training, a lot of times I go back to the colors, go back to the animals, because they rarely open up new aspects rather than just looking at the words, what they depict. And so a lot of new material comes to foreground, and then you start looking at different impulses for your own self. So for me, that's what a lot of time these idea of trauma catharsis brings you, that it really lets you get into a very different aspect to what usually you don't when you're playing with words.
Interesting, very interesting. Sumona, talk to me about the relationship between the 2 siblings. What is it that you have garnered? What is it that people will get to see?
Tushar is giving me the looks. Yeah, that's literally So Karthik and Renu,
He's so loving.
Yeah, you wish. You wish. It's, when I first read the first draft, and, as today, when you look at yourself, when I look at myself when I read it, I'm like, why, right? I mean, you talk about when you have not been through it, but you read about women, educated women, or even women who are working and independent, when they go through abuse, be it a domestic violence with a spouse or family. And so when I read, I'm like, why do you not walk away? Like, how difficult is it to walk away from abuse? And there were a lot of things like, the whole catharsis that you play with, and the beauty of rehearsals, like for 2 months, when we rehearsed, Renu as a character, she is just, like, it was the father, then the brother, and then you're just in a cage. And it's funny because even if the cage door is open, at some point, you have just become so comfortable in that cage that you don't want to step out. She will probably go and shut that door back again because I am now comfortable in this cage. And this is also something known. So for her right now, like, Karthik is her world. She does everything. She is his servant. She's everything probably but a sister or a family member, because of literally the way she cleans the house, she does the dishes, she does laundry, she does all of it. Like, she's practically all the time cleaning. But then again, what Nikhil really helped with was, is she just cleaning? What you see is she's cleaning the floor. She's probably also doing cleansing internally and trying. So it's when you say abuse, right? I mean, abuse can be defined in so many ways because there are so many types. I don't know if I want to compare it to a Stockholm syndrome.
I was just about to say, it sounds like a
yes,
Stockholm
so it's very close to it. Yeah. It's not literally that, because at the end of the day, this is a real sibling, a real brother-sister. But the premise and, the sort of the environment is very, very similar. But then again, what Nikhil has done very beautifully is that he has given Renu this graph where you see that she's in a cage. She has made herself comfortable in a cage. She has decided to be there. But then at some point, she does break that cage. And there's this whole graph between the siblings where you see the shift of power, the shift of status, the shift of dynamic. And it's not like she goes rogue. That is one, blood is thicker than water. Despite everything that she goes through, she still somewhere stands with her brother. So I think that is very beautiful that, yes, given everything, I don't know if that's like girls being more mature all the time, or we are more giving and we are more accepting and we have a bigger heart probably, or whatever it is.
Of course you do. Yes.
Thank you. Tushar,
No two ways about it.
Tushar is like, oh my God.
Tushar might listen to
Yeah.
Karthik might.
Karthik.
Yes. Keshav, didn't you tell me you went and studied at Adishakti in down south?
I did.
Was Kalari part of your training? I know that there's Kalari in this, but there are different dancers doing the Kathak and the Kalari. But were you exposed to a bit of that when you were doing theatre?
Yeah. Actually, I remember when we met for the first time, and then for the second meeting, he told me to prepare a Kalari piece.
Oh.
And he gave me an option to choose between an elephant, a horse, or a camel, and prepare a piece, 2-minute piece to it. So I did, and with the few basics that I was introduced to at Adishakti, because we had 6 a.m. classes of Adishakti for
Yes.
about an hour or two.
Wow.
Which is super fun. And from that limited knowledge of that, plus a bit of Kudiyatam, because I also did Navrasa Sadhana in Kerala. So I mixed both of them and created a piece. And then he offered me the role of Eklavya, which happened to be on the white side, which means that's not Kalari, that's Kathak. But Yeah, and then I always make sure I do the warm-ups and the exercises with the Kalari team in our morning rehearsals. In fact, we are coming from our rehearsal now.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Now talk to me about the black side and the white side, and why Kathak and why Kalari. And I mean, big shout out, credits to the people who are behind the Kalari and the Kathak.
Yeah. I think a lot of credit is being passed on to me, but a lot of this is possible because so many people came together. And there's Sugandh, who's done the Kathak choreography, Deepika, who got in the Kalari choreography. And essentially, Kalari is a martial arts medium, but to work on it on the basis of a movement scheme, music which is composed so beautifully for this particular play by Ajinkya Nair, by Multani, by the rhythm. All of this came together to give us the scope of because it's so dark. So many things in this play are so dark. It gave it a language by so many definitions, because when these two elements came together, the darkness of the play could be visually seen. And why these two elements? Because essentially we wanted two distinct forms. What would represent the black? What would represent the white? And it came out very naturally that something which is more graceful, of course, in the midst of history of Indian culture, and something which is extremely aggressive in the midst of history from Indian culture. By definition, these two elements quite naturally progress to a martial arts form, which is Kalari Payattu, and Kathak, which is a dance form. And they face off because also one aspect between all of these is that the animal movements that they bring into it very well represent the chessboard in so many ways. So we chose those elements to come together and face off each other, and it quite happened naturally.
Lovely. Tushar, I believe that there is an Inspector Shashank.
Yes.
Who comes in and, throws the cat amongst the pigeons.
Yes.
Talk to me about that character, who's playing it, because I believe it's a very integral part of the play.
Oh yes, it's very integral because all the other characters in the play have a direct connection to chess. It's me, who is a kind of prodigy who's lost himself somewhere down the line, finding his old brilliance. Then Renu, who is a daughter of a chess player, Karthik's sister. Then Ekant, who is a current grandmaster. Eklavya, who's his son. So all the characters in the play are around related to chess. It's just one guy, Shashank, who actually comes in and breaks the flow of the play, because he's the one who's actually investigating a very important plot in the piece, which is what my character has done. I can't reveal it right now. And so he brings in a very different tangent to what the play is progressing, and all the suspense, of one may say, or all the new dynamics that opens up different, unravels the different things within the play is led by Shashank, played by Ajinkya. And he brings in a very rural, earthy Marathi culture in the play, because he kind of brings in an element that we didn't expect the play to take. And I think that becomes a very integral part of the play, of how he shapes up and takes the play forward. So that's Shashank.
Using space, we were just talking off the mic about various kinds of stages that you've been on. You've been on the Royal Opera House stage, which is, kind of smallish. Now you're going to be at the Tata Theatre NCPA, which is a massive stage. And then I was asking you guys about whether this can be fitted into a Prithvi. We were discussing it, but we didn't come to any logical conclusion. So Sumona, my question to you is, how careful do you have to be when you move? Do you have enough space to move? Or, all this chess stuff and squares, are they an impediment to your movement?
Given how unconventional our storyline is and the way the entire thing has been choreographed, and I don't just mean the actors blocking, majority of the story and the play does take place on the chessboard, which is also a very, very big piece of, like a set, it's a thing by itself. But there's a lot that happens around. So need of space is very, very essential, because you're also able to, because you can't move the chessboard, it's there. It is the most permanent fixture on the stage. So everything around it moves. So even to demarcate whether it's the, the dances that's happening, the 4 chess games that we are showing, apart from that, also depicting different locations. So we have Karthik and Renu's house. We also have Ekant and Eklavya's house, So doing all of these things, because at the end of the day, given how our play is, we have a house, it's a family, I have to show location, there's choreography, there's a lot happening. So I think the need for space is very important. Our production, otherwise, I know when we rehearse, we've been doing rehearsals in, smaller rehearsal halls. So you realize how much, our play needs space to really put it blankly. We really do need space. So smaller the stage, the more difficult it will be. Even though I know Tushar would ideally want it to be on a smaller stage, because we can then bring the audience closer, which can then feel the emotion. And he is right in his place. I'm not denying that. I saw his place, his play in Prithvi, and I was really up close front, and I was like, oh my God, you are very, very, you feel like you're part of it, you're in it. But I think
they call
it's
it an immersive experience.
Very, very, this was very immersive drowning at one point.
If I may interrupt, I do feel the play requires a big space, but at the same time, when we're rehearsing in a small space, you see the actor right in front of you when you're close to the board. There's absolutely a new feeling that emerges, and I think I personally miss that, because with the microphone and with this, there's something about smaller places that attracts me a lot. And I do feel there are ways that one can play the same play in different spaces. And that's what the idea of theatre is, that you can maneuver it in different ways. So for me, I would be very glad if we can perform this play at Prithvi, because it'll be a very different experience both for the audience and for us. So yeah,
I can see Nikhil fretting already. Why the
I just want to know, how will we get that damn thing inside?
That is not master.
Sounds like a you problem.
So Keshav, one is Pallavi Patel's costumes, which you haven't talked about, and the other is the music of the play. So I'd like you to give us a flavor of that, and then Nikhil can take over and give us credits and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on the costume and the music.
Pallavi has done a very good job with the costumes. With me especially, because it's the most comfortable thing that I get to wear. It's a hoodie, it's a t-shirt, it's a cargo jeans. But the detailing that has gone into the Kalari, the Kalari artist, the Kathak artist, it's incredible. And but she's also making sure that everyone is comfortable while doing the sequences. And the music is, I think, one of the best highlights of our play. In fact, it has been on my Spotify playlist. I've been listening to it even in my workout. Multani and Rishikesh. A few of the pieces are very good. And there's also I want to mention Sean Williams, who's playing my father. He couldn't be here. He's playing the White King. He's a very good actor, and there's so much to because this dynamic is very interesting about the father-son, because it's not, you don't see that in real life usually, like how the son puts his guards down in front of him. He hugs his father, which in itself says a lot, I think, about the relationship.
Lovely. You want to just talk about the music a little bit? I mean, you've given it a mainstream release, is it? It's on streaming platforms.
So it is on streaming platforms, because actually I got in touch with these three fantastic musicians who have built an oeuvre of work. Like, there is Rhythm, there is Multani, and there is Harsh Parker. And these three have accumulated a certain kind of music, which essentially was the verve of our play. We wanted to hear essentially Indian music, but at the same time, we wanted to see the face-off battles between whites and blacks. And the way they've done it is through some of the songs are coming from Vedic hymns and all of that. So when you hear it, there is a rusticity, there is an old verve charm, but when they face off with each other, there is a high tempo, and you will feel the music in the play particularly. As far as the costumes are concerned, I would also like to add that when Pallavi and me had this conversation, we were really thinking, how will we actually see the Grandmaster Games? So she's designed a very interesting way. For each game, you will be able to see the exact piece, what it symbolizes, and that changes throughout the play and in a very seamless fashion. So you will see the Grandmaster games by Vishwanathan Anand, games by International Master Tejas Bakre, and also by Magnus Carlsen. Really fantastic games. And if you follow the game, you actually can go and visit and see these actual games and how they change the history of chess in its own way. So that's a very beautiful thing that Pallavi has been able to achieve in this play.
Incredible. Okay. You must remember, tickets are live at Book My Show. The show is Saturday the 29th at the Tata Theatre, 7:30 p.m. The Stalemate, an INT ABCPA production. It's directed by Nikhil Katara, Tushar, Sumona, Ajinkya, Sean, Keshav, all of them acting in it. Choreography, the Kalari is choreographed by Deepika, and the Kathak is by Sugandh Lamba. Please go watch it. You know, the theatre is the last of the Mohicans, the last of the fine arts, and we really need to support it. Thank you, Keshav.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sumona.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tushar.
Thank you.
Thank
Cheers.
you.
94.3 Radio 1.